should we talk some Braving inventory?
Yes, Braving.
All right, so let's close that chapter as well. As you might remember, dear listener, we've been talking about something called a Braving inventory, which is from Brené Brown's book, Dare to Lead. We are now at the last letter of the word Braving, which is G, and G stands for generosity. And I'll read her take on it, and then we're going to have a quick discussion about it. You extend the most generous interpretation possible to the intention, words, and actions of others. You extend the most generous interpretation possible to the intentions, words, and actions of others. Here we fail miserably, and I'm one of them. I'll be the first one here to stand up and say I am dreadful at this. Meaning, if someone tells me something, or even worse, writes me something in a communication channel or an email, I have a tendency to make my own interpretation of that sentence way too quickly, and oftentimes I don't see it from the positive side, or at least I don't even give the benefit of a doubt that it could be a positive comment. Hence, I'll snap back like a snapping turtle, and I'll make someone else's day miserable. And if you start to think about your own behavior, I think you all can think back at a time where this has happened to you as well. It's dreadfully hard.
And that's why it's something to aspire to and think about, but especially in Corona times, when we tend to have a lot of communication that goes across text in written form. And have you ever thought about it? You have reacted, read something and say, oh gosh, what an asshole.
Yes. Several times.
And have you ever taken a chance to think an extra turn and say, did they mean it that way? Because we as humans do this naturally. We put motives to everything we hear. We always put a motive behind something. That's natural. That's not something, we just do it. The hard part is, it's really difficult to put correct motive behind why someone says something, writes something. The only one who can perfectly correctly describe the motivation why they did something is the individual themselves that did it. So we can't read the minds of people, so we cannot do it. It's only our interpretation of them. And then we can think an extra turn. Did I give them the best benefit of the doubt? This is generosity, not just handing out extra lunches and stuff. This is generosity in giving people the benefit of the doubt in their intentions.
Yes.
Always interpret that they have well-meaning intentions when you read something. And this is the good recommendation, always to read something an extra turn. And think, okay, let's interpret this with the most well-meaning intentions behind them. And then you might read it in a different light.
You do.
But I say it's crazy hard.
It is, because we are all reactive. And I fall back to one of my favorite sports coaches in the world called PJ Fleck. He's the head coach of the University of Minnesota football team. He always talks about your response. What is your response to anything that happens to you in life? Because essentially life is one of two things. It's an action, something happens, and then there's your response. No matter what it is, even if it's possible, if it's positive or if it's negative or whatever it might be, something happens and then you respond to what happens. And the only person in the world who is responsible for my response is me. It can never be someone else's fault or someone else's reason to why I respond the way I do. I can claim that it is. Because I could be upset, I could be angry, I could be pissed off, I could be happy, I could, whatever it might be, I can be in different states at any given time when something happens to me. And then I have a response. And the response is my responsibility at all times. I'm in charge of my response. And when you break it down like that, it kind of takes away the ability to blame others. We talked about blame earlier in this series as well. Do I blame other people that my response was poor, or do I own my response? And if someone writes something to me, and today in Corona times, most communication is done through writing, through text, even if it's email, chat, phones, whatever it might be. I'll see the text, I'll read it, and my state of mind will affect my response. And if I just snap back a response to Kim and tell him he's an asshole because I thought his comment was dreadful, and the reason was me, not Kim, guess what I just did? I ruined his day as well. Well done, Daniel.
You participate in setting a culture.
Yes.
Not a good culture. Perhaps,
no, it's a dreadful culture, to be honest with you. And you do not want to end up in that state. So taking a deep breath, read the comment or the text one more time, and to Kim's point and Brené's point, think of it from a positive standpoint. It was a generous comment. And if you do that and it still sounds like someone is an asshole, they probably isn't. They're probably an asshole. But you can't be the reason to why you read it as a negative comment. So, but it's tough, man. But once again, you own your own response. That's all there is to it.
And you can complain a lot about the sender, that they're not clear and specific. That can also be practiced.
Absolutely.
But still, that doesn't take away that you own
no.
how you choose to interpret it.
Mm.
And give, like, it's up to you to be generous.
Mm.
So, yeah. Anyway, I recommend then doing like I tend to do. If you take this personally, yes, it's malicious, personal, and intended.
Exactly.
So you can clear that by just adding that specifically, and then, yeah.
So then we have set the stage for that. But if you do not practice that, you just want to say something or communicate something, and the person in the other end interpret what you say in the wrong way because of their state of mind. Once again, we have a problem, or we can start to create the problem. We do not want that culture. So take a step back and think about looking at all comments from a generosity perspective, giving people the benefit of the doubt that it was actually a positive comment.
But if we all start to doing this, do you actually think it will improve the situation?
Yeah, well, yes. Well, that's easy to answer. Yes, it will. Because at least then, if we start to practice this, in return, when I get your comment back, if I send you something and you write something back and you interpret it in the wrong way and tell me to go F off, if that's what starts to happen, then yeah, we start to build that dynamic between us, and we're going to have a struggle in our communication and our ability to have a relationship. But if we actually start to practice this, then at least I know that your comment has been thought through and is intended the way you stated, which is a very different place to be. So absolutely, it will help you long term. But it is hard, especially when you're stressed or something is affecting you. But once again, my response is my response. I am always in charge and responsible for my response. That's the way it is. And that's where we are with that. So that was the Braving inventory. So now we actually went through it all, which is awesome.